Coming to you from the living room, it's Wellness Nerd Out time! No surprise, we're here every day. How you guys doing today? Happy Wellness Nerd Out time, you nerds out there that are ready to hear about simple versus complex carbohydrates. What's going on, guys? Thanks for hopping on. And again, happy Wellness. So today, thank you for tuning in. I can't see you from here. Today we're talking about, to continue our discussion in Carbohydrate Week, our simple versus complex carbohydrates. And really what's the big difference? Well, let's start with the better ones. I shouldn't say better because it's not an all-encompassing term when we talk about complex carbs being better, but they generally are. And the reason is because you get a longer-lasting fuel source containing starch and fiber and not just sugar. Right? And so you don't get that quick spike in blood sugar like you do from simple carbohydrates, which are more of just like a quick bang pop of fuel, right? In and out. No, a lot less vitamins and minerals. Bae, just chilling right here, so cute. A lot less vitamins and minerals, and again, really no fiber to offer, many other benefits at all. But I shouldn't say for all of them, but for the vast majority. You do have your simple carbs like milk and milk products and some fruits, right? And those are natural, so they're not all that bad. But it depends on what you're looking for, and it depends on if it's a whole food or not. If it's a whole food or if it's processed, that is more important than if you're thinking simple versus complex carb. Whole food or processed. And before we talk about anything, I want you to, if you take one thing from all of Wellness and nutritional discussion, for your life, for improving your life, your diet, right, your overall health, if you can't go out and pick it, hunt it, extract it from an animal, find it in nature, you probably shouldn't be eating it. You probably should not be eating it. That is a simple rule you can apply knowing nothing about nutrition. Just knowing if it could be found in nature. You find packaged cookies in nature? You find white bread in nature? You can refine grains to make it, right? And wheat and things like it, right? And whole wheat bread is actually a complex carb, and it gives you decent bang for your buck, energy-wise and fiber-wise. So, we're not using that really as a pure example. But, if you can't go find it in nature, people don't eat it. I mean, and what are all the good things for us that we've talked about so many times, whether it was, had nothing to do with carbs, or whether, we're healthy, lean animal meats, and whether you're talking poultry or we're talking salmon, or we're talking, things like nuts and legumes and vegetables and dark leafy greens. Fill your diet with things like that, even if you're not even thinking about carbs or fat or anything. But, I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but bam, that's your number one rule of thumb, man. We go drinking soda. You think so? You can't find that. But, all right, probably shouldn't be having it, right? Well, no. Water, or even milk, which I wouldn't say that's up near the top, but water, right? So you get the point. But let's get into the discussion. I'm just very passionate about that because it's so simple. I don't know why they don't tell kids that growing up. And I don't know. It's a lot of BS with big corporations and industries and trying to sell you all this crap and processed foods, and they engineer how it tastes to get you hooked on it and things like that. But that's a whole nother discussion. So when we talk about a complex carbohydrate, right, you're talking something, again, that has starch and fiber, right? And this long-lasting energy fuel source can be found in things like legumes, like our peas, our lentils, our beans, right? Even peanuts are considered legumes, I believe. And you're talking dark leafy greens, your kale, your spinach, our Swiss chard, good constituents of salad, right? You're talking sweet potatoes, on another hand. right? So these whole foods, also oatmeal, right? What's another one? Brown rice is another example. Even whole wheat bread, right? But it's these types of foods that are whole foods that will give you this bang for your buck, a greater bang for your buck carb-wise, okay? So, before we talk about the timing in the coming days, what do you think would give you more energy 3 hours later? If you had a cup of steel-cut oats, or if you had a bunch of candy? The candy's going to give you a lot of sugar real quick. Right? The oats, you will maintain energy levels for longer, right? So it's no secret that if you wanted energy really quickly, right? I mean, you could have both, I mean, honestly, but if you want just the sugar spike, which I don't know why you would really want that for the most part, yeah, you have those simpler carbs, right? But, when we talk about other examples of simple carbs, corn syrup, packaged cookies, packaged baked goods, all this kind of crap, and you're better off having long-lasting fuel sources, right? And you owe it to yourself to have things that A, are better for you, and B, they're usually they're a lot of the time cheaper. I mean, you go buy vegetables, shop the perimeter. It just takes more effort because you got to cook it, usually, unless it's like salad. But shop around the perimeter of the grocery store. That's generally how you can judge as well. It's another kind of, basic rule of thumb, like when we talk about finding things in nature, right? When you're at the grocery store, what's in all those middle aisles? It's all those processed foods, right? They're processed under heat. They contain processed oils, right? Like grapeseed oil and canola oil and sunflower oil and safflower oil and rapeseed oil and all these other oils. If it's not olive oil or avocado oil, you probably shouldn't be having that as well. And is that a surprise? Because those are ones what? You extract from things in nature. Again, our rule makes sense. You extract it directly from avocado. And they're not processed under heat. That's why extra virgin olive oil is good. Cold pressed extra virgin is another example. But we're kind of getting off on a tangent out of passion, because I think it should be so much more simply articulated to everybody about how to be healthy, than trying to memorize these definitions of simple versus complex carbs. But again, those are some major differences. And when you have those simple carbs, like those quick bang for your buck, energy fuel, quick candy or things like that, like we were just talking about, well, you're going to spike the blood sugar naturally, right? And what does that give you a greater risk for? Things like type 2 diabetes down the road, So, yeah, it's a decrease in the insulin sensitivity, things like that. So, no bueno, people. Stick to your whole foods. Stick to your whole foods that are higher in fiber. And another thing we didn't say about soluble fiber, right, is that it can help to actually feed your gut microbiome. So your gut microbiome needs food as well, right? And these bacteria, they can feed off this soluble fiber that you're getting from these dark leafy greens and from these legumes and things like that, right? Now, peanuts are legumes, but when you say nuts, you always think of fats, so it really doesn't, like I said before. But the point is, it's just healthy. I keep saying things like that because I don't want it to be so black and white, like I should have carbs or I should not. It depends what the food is. It totally depends what the food is, right? And we kind of lose sight of that, and we kind of get into these keto diets, or we get into these carb-heavy diets for muscle building and things like that. But you know what? A little bit of both, and just eating in the right time relative to exercise and how your diet is, whether you fast or eat super frequently, plays a major role. And that is a necessary premise for what we're going to be talking about in the coming days about when you should eat your carbs, right? What types, preferably, they're usually the complex ones, no surprise there. But if it was 15 minutes before your workout, that may be an exception because you want that quick energy. So we'll talk more about it tomorrow and touch on touch on a bunch of different types of diets and like I said, timing of carb eating throughout the rest of the week. How you guys doing? What up, Kippy? What's up, Raph? What's up, Josh? Liam? What's up, cuz? Let's nerd out, baby. Let's go. What's up, Dustin? Hell yeah. That's right. That's right. Maxie, what's up, buddy? Strive, my man. If you can't pick it, hunt it, extract it, find it in nature. That's right. Forget about it. You're right, Danny. That's damn right. And Cameron, what's up? How we doing? Thank you very much. Quick, a little bit longer than usual, but I think it was useful, and it was something we had to talk about. But we'll talk more tomorrow, continuing our carb week and just general health, I guess, because that's what When Wellness is really all about, right? Improving your health, giving you the tools to improve your own health absolutely free. And I'm so happy to do that as your chiropractor, your doctor, and your friend. So there you go, guys. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you tomorrow. Happy When Wellness.